If you just failed the SHRM exam, or if you're preparing to take it in the next window, I want you to stop and listen to this video before you do anything else. Now first, if you're just getting started, here's my best advice. Learn to think beyond the content. If you failed, you probably didn't fail because you didn't study hard enough. And you probably didn't fail because you didn't know the content. You probably failed because you were studying each topic in a silo. I've worked with a lot of people who came to me after they failed the exam. And almost every single time they say the same thing. I studied, but the exam didn't look like what I studied. And when students say that to me, that, the test didn't look like what they studied, what that usually means is I studied the terms, but I didn't prepare for application. I studied one topic, but the test blended those topics and I didn't recognize it. I memorized the laws, but the exam wanted decisions. And when I teach them how to see the structure behind the questions, not just the content itself, then they understand how they should have been studying in the first place. They start thinking like SHRM, and they pass. I don't teach topics. I teach how topics impact the organization. I teach you how to make decisions. That is the foundation of the exam, not just the content itself, but how do you apply that content even when it's blended with another topic? How do you still recognize what you're being tested on? Honestly, the blend is really what makes people feel like they've never seen the questions or whatever the question is testing. Take this question, for example. A department manager is seeking HR support in identifying a candidate for an upcoming managerial role. 2 employees are under consideration. One consistently meets performance expectations and is frequently sought out by peers for advice and collaboration. The other consistently exceeds performance metrics and delivers results, but has shown limited interest in developing others or taking on additional responsibility. What is the most appropriate recommendation the HR professional should make? Now, if you saw this, you might say, how would I know that? One is average, but acts like an informal leader, and the other is exceptional, but doesn't want to be a leader. You might think, where is that even from? I never even studied that. But you would be wrong. Because if you saw the 9-box grid in your studies, then you should know this because it directly tests the 9-box grid. But even if you didn't know it, that it came from the 9-box grid, you could think your way through this question, and that's what you need to learn. What is leadership? What are the characteristics of an effective leader? Is it willingness and collaboration, or is it resistance? Now, I won't tell you the answer. I'll let you think through that one. But you need to know that SHRM tests how everything connects. It wants to know if you understand the relationships between the topics, not just the definitions. And if you didn't study those connections and truly understand the frameworks, then you probably feel like the test is unfamiliar. But SHRM is trying to simulate the kind of decision making that they want to see in the workplace. So that means that the questions aren't going to stay inside of the box that we've created in our mind. If you study compensation, that's great. But SHRM wants to know how compensation impacts performance. They're going to ask you how risk shows up in policy rollouts and employee relations issues. All of those things are connected. But if you study each one separately in a silo and you never practice thinking across the topics, it's going to feel like the test is giving you a trick question. And that is something I've been thinking through for the last few testing windows, actually. I wanted to know, why is it that when people come to me after failing, they always say the same thing? So I started asking people more questions, and I realized it's because they never got a foundation. So we're going to fix it. First of all, I want you to go back through your notes and start looking for the bridges between those topics. Ask yourself, what does this topic influence? How would this look in action? How would this come up in the workplace? Don't just answer multiple choice questions like right off the bat, because that doesn't actually train you for what to do when you don't recognize a topic. So start writing down like how that topic might show up, or what it might look like, right? In action. That shift can actually help you to read through any question, because once your brain starts thinking through the content, then you can think through any question. Actually, I recently did an interview with a student who just passed in this window. And I asked her, did you feel like I covered everything, or was there anything that I didn't prepare you for? And she said there was nothing on the exam that you didn't prepare us to think through. And that was a great answer. So whether you're starting over or you're starting from scratch, I want you to start with a foundation. And if you need help with that, I'm going to leave a link to my study library in the comments. The study library is your foundation. It has the strategy frameworks you need, the workbooks that challenge your thinking, not just full of multiple choice questions, but real questions that challenge you to think beyond what you see. It has a day-by-day calendar, so you don't have to guess what to study. It tells you what to study and how. I actually built this library the last window because I started to notice this pattern of people in the comments saying that they didn't recognize anything on the exam. And I knew it had to be a reason for that. I figured it out and I built this study library. So if you're starting for the first time, then this is where you need to start. And if you failed, it's okay. We'll get you there. I'm going to drop a link in the comments. If you want different results this time, you have to do it a different way. And if you want the big results on the first time, then you have to build your foundation. This is important. We can't skip steps. And especially if you've already gone through the process and you didn't get the result you want. It tells me that there was a gap. And we can close it. We're going to close it together. And even if you don't join me, just don't go back and do it the same way. If you want to have a different result, you have to do it a different way. I know I said that already, but I need to stress it. And of course, no matter what, I'm going to be here. I am going to be helping you to do it whatever way you decide to do it. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.